Hi, it's Mike, and I'm here today because I want to explain to you what dogs can teach us about IBS. That might sound kind of stupid, but if doctors would think about the case of dogs, actually, they might come a lot closer to solving the IBS problem than they've been able to come so far. Here's what I mean by that. If you go to any of the big medical websites like WebMD or Medline or whatever there are, if you go on there and look at the IBS stuff, you're going to find that most people think at the moment, this is the current idea, which is going to be proven wrong very soon, that IBS happens because of some sort of gaseous bubbles that occur in the intestines, or some sort of extremely sensitive nerve ending situation that only certain people have. That can't be, that cannot be what it is, and let me explain why. Whenever you hear any theory about what causes IBS, you want to ask yourself two questions. The first question is, if this is what causes IBS, then how come IBS has only been around for about 30 or 40 or at most 50 years? So if it were the case that some people have extremely sensitive nerve endings in their intestines, why did those people only start to exist about 50 years ago? Because before 50 years ago, there was no diagnosis of IBS. People have been contemplating their bowels and their bowel movements since the beginning of recorded history, and nobody has recorded any sort of disease similar to IBS until about 50 years ago. So you want to ask yourself, if this is the theory, then how does it explain that? And the problem is it doesn't explain that. The second thing you want to ask yourself about any IBS theory is, if this is what's going on, why are dogs suddenly getting IBS? And this is a real thing. Dogs, cats, any kind of household pet, these animals are becoming diagnosed with IBS more and more and more. And as you probably know, dogs and cats did not have IBS even 20 years ago. It wasn't a thing. And again, it's not because people didn't know how to detect it or whatever. The symptoms of IBS are, your dog has a hard time going to the bathroom, or goes to the bathroom all the time, or cries, or is in pain, or whatever. You would have been able to see that at any point in the entire very long history of the relationship between dogs and people. And it only started to exist about 20 years ago. So, you always want to ask yourself, if this really is, whatever your doctor is telling you, if this is why I have my IBS, then does it fit into this entire historical situation where IBS just came on the scene randomly a few decades ago? And so far, no theory that medical science has been able to advance explains why that's the case. My theory does, though. If you'd like to learn more about it, and more importantly, if you'd like to learn how I fixed my IBS in a couple of days, and how you can do the same thing, not with any sort of pill or any sort of food diaries or whatever. If you haven't seen my video on food diaries, please check it out. I made what I think is kind of a funny joke about peeing. So anyway, if you haven't seen it, go take a look at it. But my system doesn't have any of these types of things. It's just a very clear explanation of what's probably going on with the whole IBS thing. I'm not a medical researcher. I don't know for a fact if that's what it is, but I know that it explains everything I've observed, and it sure worked for me. It's worked for a lot of people. So if you'd like to see that, head over to www.ibsanswer.com and check it out. And I will talk to you then. Thanks.